Welcome back to Moonlit Whispers Ed's TT again. Tonight's story is real, disturbing, and the kind that lingers after the video ends. He said a movie character promised him immortality, and he believed it. Listener discretion advised. Scotland, West Lothian, winter 2002. The village is Fauldhouse, quiet roads shining with rain, shop windows fogged from the inside, street lamps humming like tired bees. In one upstairs room, the blue light of a TV seems to never go out. Allan Menzies is 22, quiet, withdrawn, a shadow at the edge of most rooms. He watches one movie on repeat until the colors practically stain the wall. Queen of the Damned, again and again. You know that loop where the credits feel like a lullaby. He lives there. In his retelling, the vampire queen in the film Akasha doesn't just stay on the screen. She steps out. She speaks. She promises him a life beyond life, a crown that never falls. But every promise wants a price. And there's another name you need to hold on to, because it's the one that matters most. Thomas McKendrick, 21. A friend, the kind of laugh you recognize at the bus stop, hands that smell like engine oil and winter soap. The sort of person you expect to see tomorrow, because that's what tomorrow is for. Small towns in winter notice things. Who's late? Who doesn't wave? Who stops showing up? In Allan's upstairs room, the volume creeps higher, the glow gets brighter. And a thought starts to grow roots. If I do this, I'll become something more. The argument starts small, doesn't it always? A joke about the movie that doesn't land, a look that lingers too long. A friend saying, "Mate, this isn't healthy." But Allan's room feels crowded now, like someone you can't see is standing behind him, breathing in his ear. Inside a modest house, words harden like frost. The air turns metallic. The distance between two people shrinks to a blade's width. A hammer is raised, a knife is taken up, and then frenzy. 42 wounds is a number you don't come back from. The sound drops out in that electric way houses should never know. A life ends, and with it, the small promises of an ordinary morning. What happens next is why the headlines reach for that single word. Vampire, Allan drinks blood. He bites flesh. He tries to turn a scene into a sacrament, a movie into a blessing. Outside, the air tastes like iron. A door opens to the cold. Footsteps drag into a field the color of ash. A shallow grave takes what it's given. The ground is winter stiff. It remembers. Time moves through the village like a long, slow breath. Have you seen Thomas? Not lately. Someone shrugs. Someone looks down. Someone says, maybe he went to stay with family. But small places don't stay quiet forever. Stories leak through the seals. Police knock first with questions, then with patience that doesn't blink. Friends are interviewed. Timelines get drawn on legal pads. The circle tightens like a belt pulled one notch closer. And in a room that smells like paper and stale coffee, Allan talks. He doesn't deny it. He explains it. A pact. A promise. Kill, and you'll be reborn. The words land on the table like cold coins. Belief has a way of changing shape. It starts as a thought, becomes a routine, then a refuge, and if you're not careful, a reason. Repeat something long enough, and it'll stand up and answer to its name. The headlines find their crown. Vampire killer. But courtrooms don't care about capes. They care about choices. Edinburgh, High Court, 2003. Reporters line the benches. Notes fill up with words like ritual, obsession, fantasy. Experts talk about minds and movies and the awful gravity of repetition. The defense tries the language of fog-diminished responsibility. The jury listens for the sound that cuts through fog. Accountability. The verdict is clear. Guilty of murder. Life in prison. A minimum of 18 years before daylight. It's not poetry. It's a door that closes and doesn't open again. Prison is where fantasies starve. No jeweled collars there, no throne. Just long corridors and a clock that seems to tap your ribs from the inside. In November 2004, guards find Allan Menzies in his cell. 23 years old. No immortality. No queen. Just the end of a story he wrote in somebody else's blood. So let's step back not to the so-called monster, but to the loss. Thomas McKendrick. 21. He should have had the quiet victories. Lunch breaks with dumb jokes. A birthday candle that takes 2 tries to blow out. An old jacket with keys still in the pocket. The slow, beautiful boredom of staying alive. That's the treasure most of us keep without noticing. Thomas didn't get to keep it. Outside those walls, Fauldhouse keeps breathing. Radiators tick in the morning. A bus coughs awake and leans into the hill. The newsagent turns a key, lifts a shutter, stacks the papers. People try not to linger in doorways when the story walks by. They say vampire because it's easier than obsession. Easier than we didn't see it in time. But this isn't a cape story. It's repetition turned ritual. A screen turned shrine. Belief that slipped its leash and bit down hard. If you're listening late at night with one light on, let the room settle around you. Hear the kettle cool. Hear the house breathe. Feel your own heartbeat press against your wrist. That sound the ordinary, steady, stubborn beat. That's what people trade away in stories like this for promises that never existed. There's a reason we tell these tales in the dark. Night makes patterns clearer. You can see the steps that lead to the edge. You learn the shape of the cliff. Maybe next time you step back sooner. Maybe you notice the friend drifting toward the drop. Maybe you say, "Come sit in the light." I want you to hold 2 truths at once. Yes, a man did something terrible because he wanted a myth to be true. And yes, the person who paid for it had a name. Thomas. That's why we don't glamorize monsters here. We center the absence, they leave. So if a story ever starts pulling you by the throat, ask what it wants in return. Real life always sends the bill. The screen never pays it. We'll leave the grave behind now. We'll leave the courtroom and the cell. And we'll hold on to what remains. A friend's voice in memory, a morning bus, a warm room, the simple work of another day. That's the only immortality we get the minute we're standing in, lived all the way to its edges. I'm TT, and this is Moonlit Whispers. If this story stayed with you, tell me why in the comments. Was it ever about vampires? Or was it always about the danger of what we choose to worship? Like, subscribe, ring the bell, and meet me after dark.